Now, when I bought the R1, I knew in my mind what I wanted, and I knew the factory wasn't going to make exactly that bike exactly the way I wanted it. But the R1 came pretty close in a lot of ways. I loved the engine, of course. I had seen them at the AMA races, and I knew I wanted a bike with that real R1 engine. I knew I'd have to change some of the ergonomics. I knew I'd want to make some unique carbon fiber parts. I wanted to make the bike my own. But the biggest thing I knew is I wanted to have a bike that suited my needs for the riding I do. I like to do a ride from 3 to 4 hours a day. I get to ride every day. I want to ride on some twisty back roads. And of course, I want the bike to be relatively comfortable and most of all, fun to ride.
Today's one of the days we always look forward to. Getting out on the R1 and just listening to that motor sing. This bike has the sound because of the cross-plane engine. It has a sound unlike anything in motorcycling that I know of. And when you back off the gas at high RPM, it just, you think you're in an Indy car or a NASCAR or something. Very, very, very nice sound. Maybe you don't like it, maybe you do, but like everything in motorcycling, it's in the eye of the beholder.
And I'm probably not alone in thinking people go to a dealership, pick out a motorcycle, or they're dreaming of one, but they always want to make it their own. You always want to make custom little touches. You might want to add something or take something off. Make it a little bit different than the way it came from the factory. Personalizing a motorcycle is something almost everybody I know wants to do it, and they want to do it well. Now, it was not long after I got the bike that I went with a bunch of friends down to Millville to the AMA race, saw Josh Hayes' bike in the paddock and saw the unique headlight features that he had. And I'm sure those were factory Yamaha parts. And of course, not available at any price anywhere. I did some research, not available. So, as I've done in the past, I just decided to make my own. And there were a lot of little parts that I wanted to upgrade along the way. The first one was the bike came with black wheels. I knew I was going to paint the wheels at some point in time, and I wasn't sure if I wanted silver wheels or gold wheels or what, but I knew I was going to paint them anyway, and I was going to get new tires at some point in time, and that worked out great. And by the way, out on our channel are all the videos of painting wheels for all of the bikes that are in my collection. You just search up custom wheels. And the exhaust. I made my own exhaust, the 2 canisters. It was a lot of fun. It was loud. When we were riding in an unpopulated area, it was fine. But in an area we're riding now, you've got to have a quiet exhaust. Now, I wanted to have a removable tank bag. The Jivvy bag worked great, and I ultimately used all the hardware to make it interchangeable with my Valentine radar detector. And it seemed like over the years, 1 year doesn't go by and I don't change something. I made some seat pillions, among other things. I did some other little carbon fiber bracketing and heel guards along the way. But I enjoy doing that. Now, some people enjoy purchasing parts and bolting them on. Hey, we could still be friends. We could still appreciate the work and the passion we have for these motorcycles. And the nice thing about the radar detector mount that I fabricated, and I got that box, there's a video on the channel of how to make that box, and use the Jivvy hardware so you can interchange it between, I have 7 motorcycles, so I don't want to have 7 radar detectors, and it worked out perfectly. And actually when you're riding the bike, unless you were on a MotoGP ride where you were laying on a tank and this bike doesn't go to the racetrack. It's a street bike, so it really is never in your way, and the times it saves you bacon, it is so worthwhile. Another nice thing, Vlad got me a sprox. These are steel teeth on an aluminum sprocket. It's a hybrid system. It's super light, and mine has lasted over 20,000 miles. Now, I've owned, modified, and restored a lot of motorcycles in my day. I started riding at about 14. I'm 79 now. You do the math. Never owned less than 2 motorcycles of all different persuasions. And I've made some of them into drag bikes and into various things that at the end of it, I was sorry I did it. I was sorry I didn't just keep the bike stock. And back in the day, it was not uncommon to just take a hacksaw to the bike. We don't do that anymore. So the restorations I've done lately, I've really put a lot of time and energy into trying to make the bike suit my needs for that part of my life, and I've been successful. Now, I worked with carbon fiber in my modeling life, and actually it was part of the business I had that I made carbon fiber parts for model airplanes, but being able to use that technology on this bike to make several parts, the muffler covers, much nicer than the ones you can buy from Yamaha that basically were flat black. Now, I've owned several bikes that I thought in the very beginning of when I got them and they were new or relatively new, I thought I'd love them. And a year later, the seat was uncomfortable, or the ergonomics just weren't right, or some bikes I had put bar risers on to make them more comfortable, or done other things that, in the end, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It was close but no cigar. And a lot of bikes I've made parts for that, a year or two later, not really crazy about the way that worked out. And sometimes I've even custom painted bikes. I did my second H1 with a custom paint job that I thought was pretty cool. And a year later, it wasn't as cool as it was when I did it. Now, modern manufacturers know a quick way to save money is to make as many parts of a motorcycle flat black plastic as possible. Anything flat black, you don't see the flaws. It's a real good way to save money during manufacturing. Now, it's something that, because at one point in my life I was in the machine shop business, and I know about things like molding and tooling marks and stuff. I know how tempting it is to just paint something flat black. I took almost every part on this bike that was flat black, maybe there's a few exceptions, and painted it gloss black, and I like it a lot better. And of course, all of that type of stuff is in the eye of the beholder. If you like flat black, hey, I always say we could still be friends. And some people think it looks tough or makes you look like John Wayne or something, or Clint Eastwood. I just don't like it, and it's just personal. I love the badging on this bike. The badging I used on the final bike is from a 2010, and it's a 3-dimensional R1 logo. I just think that logo is beautiful. But every bike in my collection has a series of mods that make the bike either more comfortable to ride or in some way more aesthetically pleasing. But in the end, I want always to have the bike to be instantly identifiable with what bike it really is. If it's a GS, I want people to know it's a GS. If it's an R1, I want to somehow identify that it's an R1. I want it to look, and it's a hard thing to describe, look as if the factory might have made this themselves. one of the few things that is really, I wish I could change, but I know I can't. Tire life on this bike is not really good. A bike, I don't know how to describe it. You get what you pay for. If you have a bike that eats tires up, you know you must be having a lot of fun, or you're living on the edge, or whatever. This bike does eat tires. Now, a lot of my friends, Jose has a radar detector, Vince does, Luciano has one, he doesn't use it though, but I have found it to save my bacon. The amount of money I spent and the amount of effort to do this has paid me such dividends. And when I see somebody get pulled over unnecessarily and pay a fine that raises your insurance, I don't know. Now, I know the prices of all the super bikes have gone through the roof. One of the nice advantages of having a bike 16 years old is I know the amount I paid for it is about a third of what the bikes cost now. Maybe more, I don't know. But anyway, we had a great ride today, a lot of fun. The bike really suits my needs to a T. But at the end of every ride, I think, you know what? It's time to just get back to the farm I love. So as usual, we had nothing but fun on this bike. Never bored. Never. If you get bored, and you're on board very quickly. 90 miles an hour in first gear, you just can't go wrong. Anyway, as far as the cross-plane goes, again, I want to mention something. There are a lot of really interesting videos on YouTube that explain how cross-plane, they make cross-plane cars too. And I don't know the whole history of it, but it's all documented on YouTube. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.